matchup of this Thursday night doubleheader. All right, can we be heard now? Okay.
Awesome.
We'll try this one again. Well, first of all, welcome back everybody to the CCA League. I am DRF, joined by Weef today for the start of this double header. Oh man, took us a little bit of a journey to get here, but alas, we've got everything up and running.
Yeah. Usually I like to have some time to research the teams I'm commentating for stuff like this, but since it was a little bit last minute, I don't have any background. Do you have any background you'd like to share on these teams? Do you have any insider info?
Certainly can help you out there. I've been able to follow both of these teams for quite a while now, actually. PAL 3.0. This is, I guess, the third iteration of PAL. I didn't really know there was a second iteration, to be quite honest, either. But PAL 3.0 is the Purdue sort of JV team back in the day when ITAP was still around, but now they are back and better than ever. So they played in CCA Season 1, coming in second place in Division 2. Now they're going to be going up against the WPI Grizzco Workers Union, who were last season's Division 3 champions and have now earned their right to compete in Division 2, although they now enter this new division missing a couple of those key championship pieces.
Oh yeah, that's definitely unfortunate. You know, roster changes can be rough, but I mean, it's definitely good to see teams growing. That's exactly what things like these are for, seeing that growth, seeing yourself, get ranked higher and see yourself, get more appreciation. So it's going to be exciting to see how these teams compete. I'm guessing GW definitely wants to get that, get the win on this, prove that they were not overseeded or anything, kind of prove themselves in this higher division.
Oh, certainly. There's definitely a lot that they're going to be looking to prove, just as you have mentioned. Week 1, I know, did not quite go their way as they ultimately fell 1-4 against San Diego State's Carnegie Solder Fries, who actually played just yesterday, going down 1-4 to the Reef Runners of Cal Poly. So definitely a little bit of an interesting chain to kind of watch develop there in Division 2 Group A. PAL, on the other hand, this is their first match of the CCA season. Their matchup last week against the Florida Gulf Coast Thunderbirds was ultimately rescheduled. So PAL going to be diving into their first bit of CCA League Season 3 action here with Clan Blitz on Museum de Alfoncito.
Awesome. Clan on Museum is one of my personal favorite red modes. It looks like these teams are going to be running some pretty interesting comps here. We don't see the blowover too often, but I can see it working pretty well with that comp out there on the side of PAL. So we'll see how that interacts. We see the Orange Zap, a weapon that is new and hasn't been used all too often, but definitely fits on the side of Grizzco Workers Union. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, and I love this dueling Octobrush action that we have here as well. That Zipcaster, definitely a really big piece to Museum, where you can able to grab all sorts of different ledges, really start to push up on these baskets as well. Haven't seen them come out yet, instead of dueling Octobrushes and taking turns picking each other off to get things started. But take a look at this. It's the Grizzco Workers Union that are working their way up onto PAL's flat, but they're going to be slowed down a little bit by this Octobrush who gets a nice double.
That's super important here, but they still have a little bit of presence. This Zap is going to be running for their lives here as they start to back out, just trying to take a little bit that again, they can scavenge from that near white, and they are going into a fight with the Central Scotland coming off on top, maintaining it even further. It looks like, defensive ground have forcing their way back into mid. Yeah,
certainly. I mean, PAL, I think, in the orange here, ultimately getting a little bit lucky almost with how things have played out for them so far. As we saw WPI all the way up in their plat so far, and it is not able to maintain the numbers. Frosta with a nice double.
Beautiful machine double, both of those directs, very, very crispy sound effects there, very exciting to watch. And once again, we are seeing this Grizzco come across here, catching up on the plat, but they are going to get all of them down by the blotter. They are straight down here again. We're seeing double here. Same situation we had earlier, only the Zap left alive, carrying that power tank and backing out as far as they can, but give up too much space.
Certainly, I mean, 2 minutes in, and both of these teams still not having anything to show for it. We see a lot of great doubles. Oh, make that a triple! Oh man, trying to complete the quad. They're going to be going for it, just going to be very short here, and ultimately going to find their way into a pool of 3 different WPI players.
Yeah, got a little bit greedy there for the quad, but I cannot blame them. That would have been an absolutely sick clip if they got it. But as we are going to go out here again, it's looking like things might be looking pretty good for, I believe that is going to be Grizzco Workers Union. And as they push right on back yet again, we've seen Pal kind of on the defense this entire time, but Grizzco Workers Union just has not been able to land a push despite getting control of Pal's plat multiple times here.
Certainly, and they're gonna give it another go here. They do have 12 clams and counting to their name, up to 18 now. So Pal has nothing to really get any sort of push going. They're gonna have to focus all of their efforts on a huge defensive stop here before that they can even consider leaving their plat right now. As we are gonna possibly see the first score of the game, but no, the Octobrush gonna opt to just back out for now, saving their life and his power climb, allowing their teammates to finish getting the necessary kills to open things up, and that should be a delayed wipe. This should be the first score of the game, and here goes Garrett with the first dunk.
Yeah, it's been a very long road to get that score, and it looks like they're not going to get much else out of this, going only to 65 as they are forced to back out of it, going 3 down. But it's been a long road to get there. They've had a lot of chances to go, but never quite were able to make it land until then. And I mean, that is not a very stable lead here on this map. It looks like Pal is going to be starting to move up into the plat, which is exactly what they want to be doing right now. They have a minute and a half, and 65 is not a lead that is, like I said, super secure. It's only a power clamp and some change to get in, and as Pal is going to be starting to take these more offensive positions, it could come sooner than expected.
Yeah, and they're in a good position here, but ultimately are going to lose 3 of their members, make that a delayed wipe now. So with a minute to play, Pal is back at square one, going to have to just maintain some map control, find some clams to work with, and that's not going to be easy for them, as WPI is moving very fast, very aggressively. But take a look at Missiles actually playing a little bit sneaky here, trying to get behind WPI, but not going to be able to stay there for too long. The callouts from their teammates able to draw attention to them.
Yeah, good communication is key, but we only have about 20 seconds left on the board, and so it's going to be really on Pal to get that power claim, which they just made, and push up. They only have 30 seconds, that 10 seconds left on the timer, plus overtime to get it in, and they really have to, play wisely, play safe, but, also play aggressive. It's a race against the clock to get it in, not much time left.
Yeah, take a look at this Kraken that's going to try to make a move in. Omazen trying to trail the Kraken, but gets shut down. 2 down on either side now. Missile's going to pick up the power clamp with the Octobrush, able to get it in. It's going to take 5 clamps to tie it, 6 to get the lead, and they have just that! Wow, Pow comes from behind in overtime.
Absolute clutch there from that 96 scale, going in with the Kraken and getting themselves in a position where, I mean, they had their feet painted, they were relatively safe, they just threw in the clams they needed, and it looks like Grizzco's Workers Union just kind of dropped the ball there, no pun intended, in terms of getting them down. But that was a very interesting overtime there. Congrats to Pal for taking that back just in the nick of time.
That was, I don't know, that was so crazy from just start to finish there. It seemed like WPI was just in control for probably about 4 minutes of that 5-minute game there. I mean, plus the overtime. Pal had a couple of instances where they were able to start moving up a little bit, but were shut down very, very quickly. And really, I don't think we saw them get a power clam, past that spinner at all until that overtime there. So a really well organized push there in the end. Got the picks that they needed exactly, and were able to slip on through.
Yeah. Brush doing brush in Clamblitz things, running in and getting the score, and then dying, but that's all it took. I mean, if it works, it works. But it looks like, based on the screen here, we're going to be going to Splat Zone's Mako Mart pretty soon.
Yes, that will be our game number 2 for this week. So it's certainly going to be I feel like, just given how these teams have started out, this should be a pretty chippy to get things started. Definitely anticipate a little bit of a bloodbath in the early game, but it's going to be whoever sort of wins out those early 1v1s is going to be able to capitalize on those key positions, establish the lead to beat, and then we'll see a bit of a tug of war, assuming that the first team that has to, try to reclaim that zone is able to do so, because this is one of those maps that is lockout heavy at times. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, also though, out of all the maps in the game, or out of all the modes rather, Spot Zone is the easiest one to get a push right on. Clamblitz, we saw both teams really struggle to get something going, but that's because you have to push up so far into enemy territory and get like solid control of that area in order to make a push. But Splat Zones, you only need to have a basic control of mid, and then it's all downhill from there in terms of getting a push going. So I mean, it could be back and forth. I could definitely see, a whole thing where it's like, okay, we're painting the zone for 5 points, and then you're painting the zone for 5 points. Then we have penalty, and we're painting the zone for 5 points again. But we can also see some nice long holds here, depending on what these teams have in store.
Oh, certainly. I'd be curious to see if those octobrushes are going to stick around. I think that they can do a lot of, damage just trying to hang around those ledges. And there is, not as much Zipcaster opportunity, but there is still, a good amount that you could try to get behind enemy lines once again to create some chaos.
This is certainly a comp we're seeing here. On both sides, you see Blob Wiper Not T-Tech versus Double Splash 96 X-Flow. I don't think I've seen either of these comps before in play. It's going to be really interesting to see how they interact.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Certainly some very interesting comps. I mean, Double Splash, we're back to last season and the season before, but being paired with that 96 Deco and Explo is certainly going to be very interesting, as we do see PAL get the early advantage here, as they're going to get first claim to this zone with 3 members of WPI going down, as Miss L there trying to just preserve life as best as they can, slowly trying to throw bombs their PAL's way to try to push them away from this zone, and able to do so successfully, as they do find 2 picks.
Yeah, but it's not over yet. Omazen over here fighting for their life in Breakfast War, ultimately jumping out, and that does look like it's going to be the end. Only missiles there on the stack, but it's going to be displaced by that Tri-Strike, and looks like, Grizzco Workers Union pushing pretty far up, getting some picks, but also getting picked on themselves. And, approaching pretty rapidly the lead that PAL has established. There's only about 5 seconds left before the lead switches, and it looks like things are still pretty hotly contested.
Yeah, but PAL does lose 2 of their members. This Kraken coming out a bit defensively here. Dino not going to be able to really find anybody, as they now have to just reestablish themselves on this on the right stack. My apologies there, but WPI just starting to, seemingly run away with this, even though that it will be the numbers advantage back in PAL's favor.
Continuing the theme of seeing some pretty good doubles, we see a double from Missiles there on the Crab. Looks like these players are going to get the Wiper cornered and get that pick, further establishing their control. But Krona here is going to be flanking on the T-Tech, going to get 1 pick, and we're going to see if we get more doubles. That's, seeing doubles is, it's something we're seeing here a lot, apparently. And now it's back in the control of Grizzco's Workers Union, going to be pushing up here, where we see the Knot and the T-Tech kind of establishing themselves in some good positions to establish a pseudo-lockout, and it's going pretty well for them, to be honest.
Yeah, it's, it's really going to just continue to come down to who can get more of these doubles going on here. Because, I don't know, I guess we're just ordering doubles now. but it does seem like that WPI is starting to once again reopen this gap a little bit and run away with it. They're gonna have to survive this Kraken though. That's gonna be the one thing that's gonna bring Pal back in on this, as this zone is so close to neutral. They're able to secure it, but two members of WPI fighting for the zone, but that's a wipeout.
That's a wipeout, but PAL looks like they burned two of their crabs, which means that they're not going to be able to use those crab tanks to, further their hold. So it could be a pretty easy defense here for Grizzco Workers Union if they play their cards right. Already we see a Inkstorm coming out, and hopefully these players are going to push it. We see a trade over here on the stack, meaning that the status quo is maintained, 2 down on both sides, but that zone is still pretty contested. Not anymore though. Grizzco Workers Union establishing a fat penalty on the zone, and it's in their control now again.
Yeah, but Grizzco Workers Union does have a very fat penalty of their own to work through, 56 points. So at this stage of the game, it's going to be more or less just keeping PAL away from the zone as best as you can. You know, you don't, it's going to be a little bit hard to really add onto that scoreboard and get the knockout. If you can do so, great in this last minute, but just keep PAL away from the zone. Keep that ink pressure up, and that's going to be how Grizzco Workers Union ultimately has to run away with this game.
2 down on both sides, and we're seeing a bit of backwards play here. Wiper on the side of Wiper, and we're on like the wrong side of the map. A little bit of flip-flop there, but now we're seeing a traditional scuffle in mid that looks like PAL is kind of coming on top of. They only have 40 points left on their scoreboard before they knock out, and it's gonna rapidly approach here if Grizzco Workers Union can't make something out of these last seconds. Looks like the points are rapidly ticking. The pressure is on.
Yeah, and it's gonna come down to some of the special coordination. A well done triple ink strike to flip this zone back, because it's really seemed like PAL was going to close that gap significantly and possibly even take the lead with how much blue paint was surrounding the zone. But with 15 seconds to go, now it's PAL that's 3 members down, making a wipeout. Grizzco Workers Union recap the zone, and they're gonna now be trying to camp those ledges, and this should be a clean knockout in these last 5 seconds, barring a miracle from PAL.
Even the power of a crab tank cannot retake the zone. It did look scary there in that last second as all the players threw themselves at the zone through burst bombs and all that, but it still remained in Grizzco Workers Union control, and they are going to take game 2.
A great job responding after things fell apart for Grizzco Workers Union in game number 1. This one, they said, hey, we've got this lead and we just need to make sure we clean this up. But like you said, that did get a little bit scary there right at the end. We actually saw PAL get the neutral for just a moment. And it seemed like that there could have been that exact miracle they were looking for to flip the zone in their favor. And I think if that ended up happening, that was all PAL's game at that point. Grizzco Workers Union just would have been too taken aback to possibly even close that one out. So Grizzco Workers Union, great job closing that one out.
Both of these games have been really close so far. We saw the first game go to PAL in overtime, and we almost saw the second one go to them, but during the actual gameplay, it's been relatively dominant from the side of Grizzco's Workers Union, so we're going to see how these teams interact as we go further on, if we're going to get closer and closer, and I don't know, it's going to be great to see, but right now we're going to be moving on to Tower Control Eeldale Alley, it looks like.
Yes, so Tower Control Eeltail Alley, at least I have not had an opportunity to play this map mode since the rework of a bunch of map modes to establish pole dominance across all of the Splatoon world. So from my understanding though, this one definitely took a little bit of a step back in terms of its competitive viability. I was never a huge fan of this one though in the first place, but I would assume that this is still going to be a relatively fast-paced map mode.
I always say this every time I commentate this map, but Eeltail it's a spaghetti noodle. It's an uncooked spaghetti noodle. It's so long and so narrow. It feels like if you stand in mid, you can touch, both corners of the stage with your fingertips. It's absolutely insane, and that narrow, how narrow it is definitely affects how you play. There's not, you have to go through mid. There are no alternate routes other than the bridge, which I don't think necessarily exists on tower. I think you actually have to jump. It's just super interesting to see how it plays, but it also leads to the dominance of things like E-leaders and crab tanks that can really just watch over mid and deny any entry routes.
Oh, certainly. We've kind of haven't seen a whole lot of, backline action from these teams so far. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see if an E-leader does get pulled out. I mean, we saw the Explo in that last game, and I think Explo can still do well. It's just that when an E-leader comes out, Explo kind of starts to cry a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. It's every other backline starts to cry a little bit, except for ZNF starts to cry a little bit when the E-leader gets brought out. It's certainly something, but we are going to see how these teams respond to each other, how they respond to their comps and their play styles as we go in. We see the Flingza Tri-Slosher on the side of PAL, and we're going to see a Tri-Stringer and a Nova shot from Grizzco's Workers Union.
Oh, okay. Definitely not the backline I was expecting here from Miss L on the Tri-Stringer. So no Elis to be seen here. Pal gonna opt for a pretty aggressive composition here. I love the use of the Tri-Navo. If you're gonna be going with a bunch of aggressive weapons, might as well pop a Tacticooler to really start getting things moving faster for the rest of your team as well.
Beautiful torpedo pick from that junior. Torpedoes can be super oppressive here, and it looks like Grizzco's Working Union is already moving pretty far up. It's going to be still contested in mid, not safe enough to get that tower push going, especially with the missiles coming out and forcing everyone, including the backline, to move. And that crafting going out is going to solidify just how deep in neutral game we are right now. Both of these teams are struggling, but with the 2 down, it looks like things are swinging in the direction of PAL.
Certainly, and there we go. There's the pressure on Miss L that I was trying to anticipate there. Able to pick off that Tri-Stringer. That's going to really open things up for PAL now, as they should be able to clear this first checkpoint with relative ease. The junior going to be going down as well, and take a look at those 2 players from WPI getting pushed all the way back by that Flingza before finally taking care of them there. So WPI going to be able to at least contest this second checkpoint, but they've already lost a decent amount of ground here.
Absolutely beautiful crab from PAL kind of solidifies their push as not dead yet. 2 down on the side of Grizzco Working Union means that they are still in the green light zone to push. This bow is going to get an assist and going to start pressuring the tower with their whale, but it's still going to be a fight to get out of mid here and get a push started of their own.
Oh, certainly. But they might be able to get it done here. No, teammate's going to come in. That's going to be a trade. Garrett going to ultimately go down here as this tower remains to be neutral now, as both of these teams just trying to establish the paint on their half of the map, trying to build up some of those specials. That triple link strike will get the Flings on the side of PAL, but just as WPI thinks that 1 kill is enough for them to start moving up, they lose one of their own. Finally going to be able to follow this up with a couple more picks, and this should hopefully allow them to clear this first checkpoint.
Yeah, Novashock trying to clear out the tower, and just a lot of players on the tower right now or behind it. I mean, 2 are up there, trying to clear out the space. They do get to pick on the Flings up, but the Tri-Stringer goes down, making it a little bit difficult. The other pick, though, on that 96 is going to be huge, but it just looks like they're kind of struggling to get further in, but they did get the lead, but their push is over here. So both of these teams are basically on even footing. There is a bit more pressure on PAL to take that lead back, but based on what we've been seeing here, if they maintain the good control that they've had and continue to get double down situations, it's certainly in the cards for them to get it back.
Yeah, and here we go. This is going to be the push that I think really starts to define where PAL stands in this game. Able to get all the way to that second checkpoint. Gets the lead by 1 point. Able to find 2 more picks as well. The Crab Tank finds a 3rd. And it's just going to be point on that far right side. That really can't try to do anything on their own. PAL will collapse in on them and get the pick. And PAL will continue to expand this lead.
I really want to emphasize how good of a crab spot that is. You are able to pressure the entire side of the right map, and if you have teammates pushing left, that makes it a really hard situation. And we're going to see the Kraken on the tower come out here. It's basically over at that point, and we see the knockout from PAL.
Wow, I mean, a great push there, and that just really is a product of this map mode in general. It's so fast paced, especially once you clear that second checkpoint. If you can do so as clean as Pal did, it's over. Like, that's just gonna be clean right through. Third checkpoint, just keep the pressure up, and you should be smooth sailing. Kraken was just the icing on the cake.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely a bit of a cheesy win, but in terms of just getting that KO from that Kraken, but they played it really well up to that point, so it's definitely not undeserved here. But this is I'm looking at this next map here, and it's certainly an interesting one. I know it's a very controversial map, Rainmaker on Mincemeat.
Oh, yes. So I guess just as a preface, here at the CCA, we definitely like to give every map mode its fair chance. Although you won't, yes. So you won't see, I guess, the most questionable suspects, like TC Mahi. Like, that's just an abomination, that we won't even touch. But we definitely do like to put a little bit of spice in every single map list. Rainmaker, Mincemeat, and I would say Splat Zone's Mahi are this week's spicy notes.
I mean, Mahi is actually, I think Splat Zone's Mahi is getting a bit of an upheaval, or like a resurgence in popularity. Some people actually are defending it. I mean, at least once the water goes down, it becomes kind of playable, but I don't see a lot of people defending Rainmaker Mincemeat, or this is definitely the most playable mode. It's no Clamblitz or no Splat Zones either, but it's just so rough in terms of getting out of mid. Getting to that first checkpoint is like climbing a mountain, just in terms of how exposed you are, how easy it is to defend, and so it kind of leads to a massive stall fest in my experience.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, season 2, Penn State versus I believe what is now Springfield, Ohio. They went the full 8 minutes. The one time that we ran Clamblitz on Mincemeat Metalworks, and it was just glorious. If that is your type of gameplay. So I do think it is a fun map mode, but definitely putting that one to the side for now. And Rainmaker, I agree, definitely the strongest mode on this map. So we'll have to take a look at how these teams are ultimately end up approaching this game.
Yeah, we haven't seen the backlines brought out, but we have seen plenty of crab tanks, and I think that's a theme that at least should return, just based on how powerful they are on this map. You know, crab tanks basically a backline in disguise, and even though we haven't seen many of the traditional backlines there, it's a substitute. But we could see the Tri-Stringer again. I definitely wouldn't doubt it. It lends itself pretty well to Rainmaker, being able to switch from a more long-range charger type mode in a more neutral game to a really fast-paced chip weapon if you are so inclined to play it that way. If you're more on offense, and the whale is pretty useful. It's a good Rainmaker carry. It's all around pretty decent, and I think it can take advantage of what little cover there is on this map. So it's we'll see.
Certainly, and you know, we haven't seen any sort of chargers yet, so I don't think we will. So it will be interesting to see exactly, you know, the compositions that ultimately do come out. I mean, the backlines we've seen are Explo and Tri-Stringer. Those are probably the 2 least played backline weapons. So it will be interesting if those both come out as well to be the anchors. And Mincemeat Metalworks, which would just, I think that was going to create for a lot of fun gameplay. It's definitely not the most optimal, but if you know that the other team is not bringing out an E-leader, I think you could definitely step into this game a lot more comfortable with your backline of choice.
Oh yeah, and E-leader just completely changes the game in terms of what backlines you choose to run. But we're gonna see, we see the Flingsley yet again. We're gonna see Missile Hell out there. And the Tri-Stringer, like I said, makes its return, but we also see a 52 gal, and I think that's Machine returning. I'm not sure if they ran it before. I can't quite remember, but
yes, in game 1.
Yes, and so we're gonna see more Kraken action, more wall action from both sides, and missiles, always missiles. Ironically,
Missiles
not the player named Missiles running it.
Yes, so we might need to have a talk with them about that to keep the branding consistent. But early on, we do see WPI getting the advantage. Sorry, my apologies. PAL getting the early advantage as WPI does go 3 down, and that's actually going to allow PAL to get this left side opened up as Miss L frantically trying to use that tri-stringer to slow down Plan B. But Plan B is going to get that checkpoint pretty easily here. And 3 down once again on WPI is going to allow this Rainmaker to keep running.
I said that getting that first checkpoint is like climbing a mountain, and well, clearly they are experienced mountaineers here, as they were able to clear it in less than the first minute, getting it all the way down to 23 points super fast. But that wipeout that Grizzco Workers Union just got is gonna mean that it's gonna be a little bit difficult on defense, but clearly they also don't have a problem on defense, getting a 3 down quite in retaliation, putting a very early start to Grizzco Workers Union push there.
Yeah, I mean, you said it was a mountain. I think it's really Grizzco Workers Union that now has a huge mountain to climb here based on that first push. So they're going to have to really put the defensive effort at an all-time high here for them to slow down PAL, who is able to get 3 down once more. PAL has upgraded from doubles to triples on a consistent basis in this game.
Yeah, PAL's offense has been a force to be reckoned with, and it looks like they're slipping by and getting even more points. They're all the way down to 14, and they are still there. It's this Swingza is still making their presence known. They're the only ones left, but they can always be getting jumps in. Not if they die, but it's looking like this is the same situation we saw earlier, where now we're pushing back from a really insane push from PAL. But we might be struggling to use the picks. We are going to see this machine going forward, getting picks, and they have their B-up at the ready. Unfortunately, get taken down before they can use it. And this cat tank is just going to make it really difficult to push in at all, especially as it's advancing and just pressuring the Rainmaker so much.
Yeah, I mean, that Rainmaker is going nowhere fast as it ultimately gets shut down by PAL. And they're continuing to hunt. I mean, just look at Omazed here, just circling this block here, trying to find any stragglers that they can just take down very quickly to continue to establish this PAL dominance. I mean, we talked how, WPI was looking so great in those first 3 games, only coming away with 1, but now PAL is playing a dominant game from start to finish in this one, as we've really seen them in the driver's seat for 3 minutes so far.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to be taking some picks. It's 2-2 on the field right now, and this bow is in a nice aggressive spot to continue getting chip damage off and making sure that PAL isn't going to be comfortable leaving mid anytime soon. And so hopefully their teammates can push off the pressure that is unfortunately no longer there as the bow gets picked off. But it looks like they're going to make a run for the right checkpoint. Unfortunately, it gets taken down. Those grates are so hard to push through, especially, if there's players right there that are going to be able to shoot you. But it looks like, Grizzco's working, they're being persistent here. They haven't gone into a terrible disadvantage and are continuing to hold mid, which is a great setup if they want to continue being able to push.
Oh, absolutely, but this Rainmaker will ultimately reset, it seems. So they're going to take a step back here. The machine goes down, and that's actually going to be PAL's ticket to start pushing up once more, as we are now under a minute to play. WPI on the ropes here. They do not want to drop another game and be at the mercy of a match point, but they are going to find 3 down here. Make that a delayed wipe. Can they grab the Rainmaker quickly enough and get that first checkpoint?
It looks like they might just do that. They get the pick on the 96, effectively, staggering the enemy team. They're going to be using their specials to push up, and this Rainmaker is going to get popped once more. 2 players dive to pick it up at the same time, and they're still getting picks. It is looking pretty scary for PAL here with these players. They're 2 down, but it's far from over. Well, now it's over.
They got the lead! With 10 seconds to go, WPI takes a 1-point lead. PAL now has overtime to take this Rainmaker coast to coast here in Mincemeat Metalworks.
And these players, the crafting is going to come out, putting a lot of pressure on right and making an opening for them. And the Kraken is also definitely going to help when that decides to pop. But looks like they're trying to push right. seeing that there's maybe a few less players who are back off. The bow is there. A few players are there. That's going to be the pick, and Grizzco's Workers Union takes the game right out of their hands.
Oh my goodness. What a finish there from WPI. I cannot believe that they managed to sneak in that 1-point lead in the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's never over until it's over, and that is a perfect example of that. You can definitely don't give up. Because the impossible, you're being basically locked out of mid all game, and then suddenly you get one solid advantage, and you take it and you run with it, and you get the lead. That's how it works sometimes.
It's really just bizarre almost that in this set, the team that has been dominant for the majority of each of these games is the one that comes up short. As this is, I think, the first game where we can definitely say PAL was running this game for 4.5 minutes until WPI comes up clutch in the last 30 seconds to clean this one up, steal the lead, and force a near impossible situation from PAL.
Yeah, that's I would have been very, very surprised if PAL was able to take that back from the brink of death there. It was like you said, a really hard situation for them. Your push that you got and we're feeling pretty secure in got snatched out from under you. Now you have to do the same thing you did earlier again. But this time you have a timer over your head. You can't set up as much as you want to. You only have, probably 40 seconds at most to get it down there, and it's a hard situation. It's never over until it's over, but that's definitely one of the more difficult situations you can be in this game.
Yeah, certainly. Man, I'm still like, the adrenaline's still pumping from that one. Like,
it's crazy.
And I mean, now we're tied at 2 games apiece as well. I am so pumped for this to possibly go to a game 7. Like, I'm all here for it. I kind of hope it goes that way. I know if you're a fan of either of these teams, you're on the edge of your seat and you're like, please just close this out. But we're guaranteed at least 2 more. The first of those going to be Clamblitz on Inkblot Art Academy. What are going to be the keys to victory on this one?
Well, we saw in game 1, these teams didn't really know quite how to play around each other during Clamblitz. It was just a big stall fest in mid. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of the same here, but these teams have learned how to play around each other a bit. They've had 4 games to figure it out, and they've also had 4 games to figure out their comps here. And so they've decided the Flingza's working, so they're taking it, but they also opt to run a Neo Splash, and the Nova Shot is seeing its triumphant return, along with the Octobrush that we saw in game 1.
Yeah, and I'm still kind of scratching my head about this Nova. Definitely a little bit of an interesting pick that we just you don't see, especially I'm trying to see how this is going to fit in this particular map mode.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've seen it work before. I've seen Luby Division X teams run it, and from time to time, more experimental comps there for sure, but you still see it from time to time. The whale spam and the intel you can get from those point sensors are pretty good, and I believe I recently got it, or at least a few months ago, got a paint buff, which means it's a decent painter, so you're not running into negatives here. But it looks like Grizzco's Workers Union is already having a pretty solid control of mid, but right as I say that, I get Commentator's Curse, and they do go 2 down, 3 down. Looks like PAL has a good chance to push up here and get plenty of control while they're at it.
Yeah, and a lot of that mid control is just going to allow them to play it a little bit safe, start to camp these ledges in case WPI starts to want to push back towards mid. But it does seem like with that splash going down, this will be WPI's way back into mid. Look at all this orange paint that's going down now. But oh man, look at Dino with a nice shark for a huge double there.
Really good picks there. But we're seeing kind of the same thing that we saw for right now in the first game, where these teams are just kind of feeling at each other. But with this Kraken forcing its way into the basket, the missiles are coming out, all of the specials are being popped. It's looking pretty good for PAL to get this push here.
And there it is, the first opening of the basket, able to get 1+6. It looks like it is just the crab tank that is left on the plat, and able to, seemingly get 2 picks there. So at least they were able to hold their own, allow their team some time to respawn, so that WPI really couldn't move out of plat either at that stage. So great hold there by that crab tank, and now WPI, trying to force their way back into mid, but just not in a great position to do so right now.
I mean, yeah, this is definitely not a stable lead for PAL here. We saw a lead of almost the exact same get snatched away from WPI in overtime on game 1, but we'll see how these teams respond. It's definitely looking like they're getting their control back, they're getting mid, but it's going to be more of a challenge to push from mid onto plat here. Going to use their specials pretty wisely. I see the Blue Bomb coming out, the Tri-Strikes, all going to contribute to them hopefully getting control of mid for that, and 3 players are going to go. It's only that 96, but the Brush and the T-Tick are the only ones left. This Brush is going to do Brush things as they do on Clam. Let's get a quick, sneaky Clam in, and, I don't know if there's going to be any follow-up to that, though.
Garrett finally goes down, but the lack of follow-up does make this a little bit of a missed opportunity for WPI, as they did get the 3 down there. They just didn't quite have the follow-up to keep the basket open. So with just over a minute and a half to play, it is the Grizzco Workers Union that remains on the back foot. Pressure is on them to make some plays here, as PAL is now just the Kraken rolling out the red carpet here for these power clamps to jump in, and this will be a big push for PAL.
It was a big push for them, but they do get a full wipe. That was 20 points more on the board, but also, at what cost? It's giving WPI a pretty good chance to respond here. But Inkblot is not a stage where it takes forever to roll out. That wipeout is, all these players are responding only if they're responding and getting specials and getting back control only a few seconds later, and they just did not move fast enough to fully take advantage of it. The mid is hotly contested with players going down left and right, but it's gonna be a long way up to get that control of the basket that they need to get the 40-point push, 50-point push actually, that they have to take the lead.
Yeah, it's going to take 2 power clams plus 4 little clams for WPI to get back this lead. So they're going to throw in their first power clam. And do they have the follow-up this time? It seems like there's a couple of clams to play with, but no one is near the basket. And PAL, with a strong defensive wall here, is going to shut out WPI from any sort of follow-up. So 2 power clams will be in WPI's pockets here to work with as we close in on these last 15 seconds. 2 members of PAL going down. This could be their opportunity to try pushing in once more.
Yeah, Brush gets taken out crucially. The sneaky player who's gotten all of those power clams in this goes down, and that's going to be down for the machine too. Only 20 seconds left to make anything happen, but with all the specials online for PAL, it's going to look really hard. PAL is already moving up to mid and just denying so much space for Grizzco Workers Union that it's looking like it isn't likely that they'll take it.
Yeah, they need to just hold forward now, but even then, time is just not on their side here, as overtime will run out. PAL taking game number 5 and sits at match point.
Yeah, definitely looking scary for Grizzco's Union, but we've seen these matches go super, super close. So they're far from out, but unfortunately they just did not have the map control needed at any time to make a sustained push, and that's what it's all about here in Clan Blitz.
Certainly, just excellent coordination there from PAL those few times that they managed to get in. Grizzco Workers Union the 2 pushes did seem a little bit flustered almost, where they managed to put so much effort into getting the first power clam in that there wasn't really hey, this is what we're gonna do after the first dunk goes. So it just fell apart very, very quickly for them on each of those attempts. So they're not out of it quite yet, but they're gonna have to be very quick to clean things up as we look towards splat zones on Mahi, and this is one of those map modes that you really can't take you can't take too much time to get yourself established. Things just move so quickly here.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how this is gonna go. Both of these teams, I mean, we saw Grizzco's Workers Union have a pretty solid control on Splat Zone's Mako, but Mahi is a different game. It's so narrow, there's so little cover. The fights are gonna go really interestingly, and just whoever gets control first, I think, is going to be in a pretty good spot to keep holding it from there. But you know, not only if they play their cards right, control can pretty easily slip out from under you. But most notably, it's not clanless anymore. All you need to get a push is mid control. You don't have to push all the way up into their plat like we saw with Clam. So it can go very differently.
Yeah, and we do know that Mahi Zones now does have that giant pole with a sign that blocks the sniper's view at least straight across from snipe to snipe. So I would actually anticipate possibly this Explo coming back out. I think that's going to be great for the zone coverage. It's a great painter, and we'll be able to, I think, play a little bit safer without, you know, the immediate threat of that other power across the way. You know, that gap isn't very far. It doesn't take a sniper to be able to reach that gap. Most weapons can.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the tri-stringer rack either. It's basically an Explo with one-shot capability and the ability to be a little bit more flexible. But we'll see here. Why speculate? We can just wait a few more seconds and actually unveil their comps.
Take a look. Pal in the pink. Ooh. Coming out with, once again, very aggressive composition. And it's going to be the Grizzco Workers Union that brings out that Explo we were talking about. Plus Garrett switching or sticking on that Octo Brush has been very, very effective on these huge offensive pushes for WPI. Going to try once more to come up clutch.
Yeah, it looks like it's already going to be in kind of Pal's hands here. Grizzco Union goes 3 down. It's the opposite, sorry. Grizzco Workers Union is in a pretty good spot here. Brush going up and is taking a lot of space, being a rat, as rat weapons do. And they're kind of, looks like, you know, Pal is all concentrated on the right side here, making it pretty difficult for them to get in, but the Kraken does not care about difficult situations. It can kind of do whatever it wants, and the tri-strike is going to come out, and it looks like the zone is going to get capped on the side of Pal.
I'm kind of surprised there that Dino did not create more havoc. Dino was all over the map there and was able to just establish a lot of control for Pal to be able to force this penalty onto WPI, but it's not going to be long as WPI now once again back in control here, quickly working through this penalty, almost up already, and they're just doing a fantastic job here of maintaining such a strong aggression. But of course, as I say that, they do lose 2 of their own, so this should be a zone neutral and a potential flip in Pal's favor.
And now the water is dropped, making this a very different map with a lot more ability to move, some more cover. But it looks like it's still kind of in Grizzco Workers Union's hand. Well, not necessarily as they go 2 down, but Pal is going to be starting to push up here. They're taking down on their timer. Their penalty is up, and Dino up here with the Kraken causing a lot of chaos, going to drop off plat and survive and just live to fight another day here. Pal is rapidly approaching Grizzco Workers Union penalty, and we're going to see how they respond as they try to come out of defense.
Yeah, and Pal has just been so good throughout this whole set about once they get control, just keeping the pressure up. And that is exactly what they are doing as they get 3 down once again. This is going to get real close to a potential knockout for them. It's the Explo that has to try to get a couple of clutch picks, able to find 1 on that 96. The second does go down. This could be Grizzco Workers Union opportunity to sneak back into this zone. They are so close to neutral, able to finally secure it and flip the zone. A great response by Grizzco Workers Union, but they lose their whole team in the process.
But they did crucially get that penalty. They live to fight another day. They have a second win. They have a second shot at life. It looks like Chrono over here on the T-Tech trying to survive, trying to get a pick out of the chaos, pairing up with the brush to you know, kind of force these players to clear out. Looks like the crafting is going to come out and get Chrono down, but it's in an awkward spot, not going to get too much value, and this brush going behind with the zip, causing some chaos, is not enough to keep the zone painted.
Oh, things are starting to get real chippy here on Mahi Resort as these teams are just trading blow for blow. It does seem like Pal continues to be in this driver's seat, though, as Krona looking to get a crucial pick. They're able to find 1, trying to back up, preserve some life. Not a whole lot of ground for them to work with as they ultimately go down as well. Dino trying to hold this zone for Pal to prevent that penalty from coming in as they continue to win these 1v1s, but cannot maintain control of the zone, finally getting grasped once again.
It looks like for Pal, their penalty is ticking down very, very fast here. Approaching, 20 seconds left until knockout, and with that Kraken causing so much havoc on their plat, it's going to be really hard for Grizzco's Workers Union to get out here. This rush all alone does get the pick on the 96 right out of Kraken, but they only have a few seconds left to get the zone, and unfortunately they do not cap it. That, I believe, is going to be set for Pal.
Yeah, that's Pal's going to be victorious here in game number 6 to take the set 4-2. So congratulations to them for coming out with the victory. I mean, this was just a roller coaster of a set. I'm still baffled at some of these plays that we saw here.
Yeah, this last game, it was looking really, really solid for Grizzco's Workers Union for a very long time, but unfortunately they just struggled so hard on defense and did end up getting taken out. But they proved themselves pretty well here, I would say. We saw a lot of good wins, a lot of very, very close games, and I would certainly be proud of the set if I were them.
Oh, certainly. I mean, Grizzco Workers Union definitely an improvement from last week's result. So I think they definitely should give themselves a pat on the back here. They are the up-and-comers from Div 3 up into Div 2. So definitely been a challenge for them so far. I think they are meeting that challenge pretty well. So let's just hope to see that they continue to grow throughout the season. Not quite out of it yet despite this 0-2 start, but Pal on the other hand, their first win of the season coming against WPI, a great start for them as they now have 4 more matches up ahead against various tough teams since they've kind of been away for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. But I believe that's gonna be it for, this set. We've basically hit all the talking points, and so that is gonna be it from us or me. Wait, what's the are you
It's
are you
for
doing the
both of
next
us,
one?
yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
let's go ahead and plug yourself. Thank you so much for coming on.
All right, my socials are gonna be Weef Slider on both Twitter and Twitch. I might actually stream later this night. If you want to come check that out, it's always a great time. But DRF, where can people find you?
You can go ahead and find me on Twitter at DRF_Splatoon and on Twitch, TritonDRF, but probably more often here on the CCA Twitch channel. So that's going to do it for the two of us here in this Division 2 matchup. The back half of a doubleheader coming your way. Keone and Anita will be bringing you home on that. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss it.